The Galactic Academy floated in orbit around a dying red star. Its steel halls echoed with the sounds of drills, screams, and the hum of machines that trained soldiers from hundreds of alien worlds. Every race came here to prove their strength, to become part of the elite galactic defense force. But there was one test that every recruit feared, the torture resistance chamber. It was said that no living creature had ever passed it. The chamber was a masterpiece of pain, created to break both body and mind. The walls could shift gravity, flood with burning heat, or freeze to deadly cold within seconds. Sound waves could tear through nerves, and flashes of light could crush sanity. It was designed not to test endurance, but to expose weakness. Many recruits had tried. None had lasted longer than 10 minutes. Most came out screaming. Some never came out at all. The instructors called it the Truth Maker. The recruits called it the Pit of Death. The latest batch of cadets stood in line, trembling. Among them were tall insectoids from Zarn, scaled warriors from Drax, and even psychic beings from the Loran cluster. They all looked nervous as the chamber door opened with a hiss of steam. A recruit named Krill, a strong Draxian with armored skin, stepped forward. He had trained for years, confident he would break the record. As he entered, the door sealed behind him with a heavy clang. Through the observation glass, the others watched in silence. The lights dimmed, and the test began. Within seconds, Krill's body twisted in pain. The gravity spiked, crushing him to his knees. A moment later, freezing mist filled the room, coating his body with ice. He screamed, pounding on the walls. The timer showed 6 minutes before the system shut down. His body collapsed. Medical drones rushed in, pulling him out. The instructor, a reptilian officer named Commander Vorik, snarled in frustration. "Pathetic," he hissed. 6 minutes. Another failure. The next recruit, a Loran psychic, floated forward silently. "I will last," she said softly. The chamber closed again. For the first minute, she seemed calm, using her mind to block pain signals. But then the sound waves began, a deep, low hum that attacked the brain directly. She screamed, her psychic shields shattering. Her body convulsed, and after 4 minutes, she fell unconscious. "Useless," Vorik growled. "None of you are fit for war." The recruits exchanged fearful glances. They knew the truth. No one had ever passed the chamber. Not even elite soldiers. And yet, standing at the back of the line, one figure remained calm. A human cadet named Alex Ward. He was smaller than most recruits, wearing a plain gray uniform. His face showed no fear. He simply watched. Humans were new to the Galactic Academy. Most aliens thought of them as primitive, a young species from a forgotten world. They didn't have claws, scales, or psychic powers. To the others, they were weak. But something about Alex was different. When Commander Vorik called his name, the aliens whispered among themselves. "The human. He will die in seconds. He won't even last 1 minute. Watch him beg." Alex stepped forward silently. His boots echoed on the metal floor. He looked at the massive steel door, then at the commander. "Any rules I should know?" he asked calmly. Vorik smirked. "Only one, survive." Alex nodded and walked inside. The door slammed shut. The recruits crowded around the glass, eager to see the human fail. The chamber sensors lit up. The temperature dropped instantly to freezing cold. Gravity increased by 10 times. Painful light beams flashed across the room. Yet Alex did not scream. He did not move. Instead, he looked around once, then slowly sat down on the floor. He crossed his arms and leaned against the wall as if he were relaxing. "What is he doing?" a recruit whispered. Commander Vorik leaned forward, his scales glinting under the control room light. "He's giving up." But after 3 minutes, Alex hadn't moved. The gravity increased again. The air became thin. A piercing sound began, sharp enough to crack glass. Still, the human sat there, eyes closed. 5 minutes passed. Then 6. Then 8. Alarms started blinking. "The system must be broken," shouted one technician. "No one can survive this level." Vorik barked, "Increase intensity to maximum." The chamber roared with energy. The walls glowed red from heat. The pressure inside could crush steel. But through the thick glass, Alex still sat peacefully. His breathing was slow, calm. He looked almost asleep. The recruits outside were silent now. No one spoke. Even the toughest aliens stared in disbelief. The technician checked the life signs again. Heart rate, normal. Brain waves, stable. Pain response, 0. Commander Vorik's jaw tightened. "Open the chamber. Now." The heavy doors hissed open, releasing a wave of heat and smoke. Everyone expected to see the human unconscious or burned. Instead, Alex slowly stood up, stretched his arms, and rubbed his eyes. "That was it," he said casually. "I thought it would be harder." The room went silent. The recruits stared, eyes wide. The technicians froze. Commander Vorik's voice came out as a low growl. You were sleeping?" Alex yawned. "Yeah, kind of warm in there, but good nap." He stepped out and walked past the stunned crowd. No one moved. The human had done the impossible. As the door closed behind him, the whispers began. "He slept in the chamber. No one survives that. What are humans made of?" Commander Vorik turned to his staff. "Run every test. I want to know how this is possible." But deep down, he already felt something he hadn't felt in years. Fear. And somewhere in the hallway, as Alex walked away with a faint smile, he thought to himself, if that's their hardest test, they've never been to Earth. The control room was in chaos. Alarms blinked red and yellow, data screens flickered, and the sound of confused voices filled the air. Technicians rushed between consoles, shouting numbers that made no sense. Every reading from the torture resistance chamber showed the same impossible result. The human cadet had shown 0 pain response. Commander Vorik slammed his clawed hand on the table, shaking the instruments. "Check the sensors again," he roared. "The system must have malfunctioned." A nervous technician replied, "Sir, we've recalibrated twice. The readings are accurate." The human cadet showed no signs of distress. The other recruits stood silently behind the glass window, staring into the still glowing chamber. The heat inside had been strong enough to melt metal, yet the human had walked out yawning like he had just taken a nap. None of them could understand it. Vorik turned sharply, his yellow eyes narrowing. "Where is he now?" "In the recovery bay, sir," a medic answered. "He requested food and coffee." Vorik's tail lashed in irritation. Coffee. After surviving level 10 pain output. He stormed out of the control room, his footsteps echoing through the metal corridors. The other recruits exchanged nervous glances. Some whispered among themselves, their voices filled with awe and fear. "He didn't scream once," muttered a Lauren psychic. "Not even when the pressure reached the critical point." "It's not possible," another said. "No being can stay conscious under that kind of pain." "He wasn't just conscious," added a third, "he was asleep." Their words spread quickly. Within hours, every corner of the academy was buzzing with the story of the human cadet who slept through the chamber. By the next morning, Alex Ward had become the center of attention. Everywhere he went, recruits turned their heads. Some looked impressed, others afraid. A few avoided him entirely, as if being near him might bring bad luck. But Alex didn't seem to care. He walked calmly through the mess hall, holding a tray of food, completely unaware of the eyes following him. When he sat down, the bench across from him creaked under the weight of Commander Vorik's heavy frame. The reptilian officer's scales gleamed dark green under the artificial lights. He glared at the young human. "Cadet Ward," Vorik hissed, "you will report to the medical lab immediately. Your test results are inconsistent." Alex looked up, still chewing on a piece of bread. "Inconsistent?" he asked with a small grin. You mean impossible? Vorek's eyes narrowed. You will not joke in front of an officer. Wasn't joking, Alex replied simply and took another bite. The commander's nostrils flared, but he said nothing more. Within minutes, Alex was escorted to the medical wing, a large, sterile chamber filled with scanners, glowing tubes, and alien medical staff. Dr. Varek, the Academy's chief scientist, was already waiting for him. She was tall, thin, with silver skin and eyes that glowed faint blue. Human Cadet Alex Ward, she began, her voice calm but curious. We need to understand how you survived the chamber test. Alex shrugged. I just didn't find it that bad. That bad? She repeated, raising an eyebrow. The chamber output reached 800 times standard tolerance levels. It was designed to simulate the pain of being burned, crushed, and frozen all at once. Alex leaned back on the examination table. I guess it didn't work. The doctor frowned and signaled to her assistants. They began scanning him, checking every cell of his body. The machines beeped and flashed with strange readings. Heart rate, normal, one assistant reported. Brainwave activity, stable. Adrenaline levels, average. No internal damage detected. Varek stared at the screen. Impossible, she muttered. Even if he somehow resisted physical pain, his mind should have collapsed under sensory overload. She turned to him again. Tell me, human, what do you feel when you experience pain? Alex thought for a moment, then said, pain tells you something's wrong. But if you know it won't kill you, you just ignore it. The room went silent. None of the scientists spoke. To them, pain was something absolute, something no being could simply ignore. Dr. Varek studied his face carefully. You were asleep, she said finally. For 8 hours. Alex smiled faintly. Best sleep I've had in weeks. Varek's eyes widened. You were inside a chamber designed to drive beings insane, and you rested. Alex just nodded. I trained on Earth. We've been through worse. That sentence lingered in the air. The aliens exchanged puzzled looks. One of them whispered, worse? What kind of planet is Earth? But before anyone could ask, Commander Vorek entered the room, his presence dark and heavy. Doctor, what is your conclusion? Varek shook her head slowly. I don't know yet, Commander. His physiology is ordinary, but his tolerance levels are unnatural. It's as if his body adapts instantly to extreme stress. Vorek looked at Alex, his eyes full of suspicion. If this is true, then humans may be far more dangerous than we thought. Alex smirked. Dangerous? We just don't give up easily. Vorek turned away, his mind racing. If one human could do this, what would happen if there were an army of them? The thought made his scales tighten. Outside the lab, rumors spread like wildfire. Some said the human had no nerves. Others claimed he was a genetic experiment. A few believed humans came from a planet so cruel that pain itself became useless. That night, in the dormitory, Alex lay on his bunk staring at the ceiling. Around him, whispers filled the room. No one dared talk to him directly. He could hear their words in the dark. He's not normal. Maybe he's a weapon. What if humans can't feel pain at all? Alex closed his eyes and smiled slightly. He didn't care what they thought. To him, it was just another day, another challenge passed. But in the command center above, the Galactic Academy's council had already begun their meeting. The projection of Commander Vorek stood before the council of instructors. He survived the full chamber test without injury, Vorek said coldly. If this is the potential of a single human, we need to understand what their species is truly capable of. One of the council members leaned forward. Or we need to fear them. As the debate continued, far below, Alex drifted into another calm sleep, unaware that his simple act of endurance had shaken the galaxy's most powerful military academy. The torture resistance chamber had broken every species before, but for humanity, it had just begun. The next morning, the Galactic Academy felt different. Whispers followed Alex Ward everywhere he went. The corridors that once echoed with drills and laughter now carried low voices filled with fear and curiosity. Every recruit, from the insectoid Zarn to the crystalline Veyruns, stared at the human as he passed. Some whispered rumors, others avoided his gaze entirely. Even the instructors walked with unease, their conversations dropping to silence whenever Alex entered the room. He didn't pay much attention. To him, it was just another day of training. But in the higher decks of the academy, something far more serious was happening. The Council of Commanders had gathered in the main strategy hall, a massive dome lined with holographic displays showing data from the torture resistance chamber. Commander Vorik stood in front of the council, his voice tight with frustration. "We ran the tests 5 times. The human's biology is normal. There are no genetic modifications, no hidden implants. Yet he endured conditions that should have killed him instantly." The head of the council, a massive avian creature named High Marshal Reth, spread his metallic wings slightly. "Are you suggesting, Commander, that humans are immune to pain?" "No, sir," Vorik replied. "I'm suggesting they're built to master it." The room fell silent for a moment. Another commander, with skin like molten stone, leaned forward. "You mean, they evolve through it?" Vorik nodded. "Their planet's environment is unstable. Storms, radiation bursts, predators. Their history shows endless wars and survival against extinction. Pain isn't new to them. It's familiar." The High Marshal looked uneasy. "Then we may have underestimated them." Meanwhile, Dr. Varek continued her research in the med lab. She had spent the entire night studying the human's data. Every scan confused her more. His nervous system was completely normal, yet his pain receptors showed strange patterns, like they adapted during the test itself. She looked up at the glowing image of Alex's brain and whispered to herself, "It's not resistance, it's adaptation." The door hissed open, and Alex walked in holding a cup of steaming coffee. "Morning, Doc," he said casually. "You still staring at my brain?" Varek sighed. "You have no idea how strange your biology is." "I get that a lot," Alex replied with a smirk. "What did you find?" "Your body doesn't resist pain, it learns from it," she explained. "Each time you experienced a stress response, your cells adjusted instantly. It's as if your body decided the pain was just another problem to solve." Alex shrugged. "Makes sense. That's how humans survive." "You speak as if suffering is normal," Varek said softly. Alex looked at her, his expression unreadable. "Where I come from, it is." She stared at him, trying to understand. "Do all humans possess this ability?" "Not like me," he said. "But every human can push farther than they should. We're just used to fighting back." Varek leaned back, both fascinated and unsettled. "If what you're saying is true, humanity could endure conditions no other species can survive." "That's not power," Alex said quietly. "That's just being human." In the training fields, rumors continued to grow. Some cadets admired Alex, calling him a legend. Others feared him, saying he wasn't natural. One alien, a towering warrior named Koratek, glared at the human during combat drills. Koratek had always been the strongest, the one others respected. But now, everyone talked about Alex instead. Envy burned inside him. During weapons training, Koratek approached Alex, his heavy footsteps echoing on the metal floor. "Human," he growled. "You think sleeping in the chamber makes you special?" Alex looked up from his bench. "I don't think anything. I just did what I was told." Koratek snarled. "Prove it then. Face me in the arena." The other cadets gasped. The arena was for official duels, rarely approved, often brutal. Alex looked at him calmly. "I don't fight for fun." "Then you're afraid," Koratek mocked. Alex sighed, finishing his water. "No. I just don't see a point." "Then I'll make you see one," the alien hissed and turned to the watching recruits. Let everyone witness when the human finally bleeds. Word of the duel spread like wildfire. By nightfall, the arena was full. Hundreds of cadets gathered to watch. The massive dome was alive with noise, lights flashing across the ring. Alex stood at one end, unarmed, wearing his training uniform. Korotek stood at the other, his armored body glinting under the arena lights. Commander Vorik stood between them. This is an unsanctioned duel, he growled. But since both parties agreed, the test will proceed. No killing blows. Korotek grinned, his fangs shining. No promises. The signal sounded. The alien charged forward with a roar, swinging a massive training blade. Alex moved aside, calm and silent. The blade smashed into the ground, shaking the floor. Korotek attacked again, faster, his strength overwhelming. But Alex dodged each strike effortlessly, his movements fluid and precise. The crowd began to murmur. The human wasn't fighting back, he was simply avoiding every blow. Finally, Korotek managed to land a hit, slamming his armored fist into Alex's chest. The sound echoed through the arena. Alex stumbled but didn't fall. Instead, he straightened up slowly, his breathing steady. The alien blinked in surprise. That should have broken your ribs. Alex smiled faintly. Guess they're still working. Enraged, Korotek lunged again. This time, Alex caught his wrist, twisted it, and stepped aside. The alien's own momentum threw him off balance. In one clean motion, Alex swept his legs and sent the giant crashing to the ground. The arena went silent. Alex stood over him, calm as ever. Are we done? Korotek growled, trying to rise, but Alex's hand on his shoulder stopped him. You don't have to prove strength by hurting others, Alex said quietly. Real strength is control. Then he turned and walked away. The crowd erupted into whispers. The alien warrior who had never been beaten now lay on the floor, defeated by a human who hadn't even tried. Up in the viewing chamber, Commander Vorik and Dr. Varek watched silently. He learns faster than any recruit I've ever seen, Varek said. Vorik nodded slowly. And he doesn't even realize how dangerous he is. As Alex left the arena, the entire academy knew one truth: humanity was not weak. They were something else entirely. And somewhere, deep within the Galactic Council's secure channels, a message was already being sent to the High Command: the human species must be monitored. Their endurance is beyond known limits. What had started as a simple test of pain was quickly becoming the galaxy's greatest mystery. The duel between Alex Ward and Korotek became the talk of the entire Galactic Academy. Within hours, footage of the fight spread across every training deck, every dorm, every communication channel. The video showed the human cadet calmly facing the Academy's strongest warrior and defeating him without anger, without weapons, and without injury. For some, it was inspiring. For others, it was terrifying. The instructors tried to control the rumors, but it was too late. The legend of the human who couldn't be broken was spreading across the stars. In the mess hall, recruits whispered while pretending to eat. He didn't even fight back. He just moved like he already knew what was coming. Korotek weighs 3 times as much, and the human threw him like a child. Maybe humans have hidden tech inside their bodies. The fear and curiosity grew stronger each day. Even Commander Vorik, who had once mocked Alex as weak, began to look at him differently. There was something unnatural about how calm the human always seemed, even when facing death. That calmness unnerved everyone. Dr. Varek continued her research in secret. Her lab was filled with holographic projections of Alex's neural scans and muscle patterns recorded during the chamber test and the duel. She replayed them over and over, fascinated by the impossible results. His reflexes adjust faster than the sensors can track, she muttered. Every time his body detects danger, it improves. Her assistant, a small insectoid technician, buzzed nervously beside her. Are you saying the human is evolving in real time? Not evolving, Varek replied. Adapting. Instantly. She leaned closer to the data. His biology shouldn't be capable of this. But maybe pain is the key. Every time he's hurt, his body learns never to be hurt that way again. The assistant trembled slightly. That's terrifying. No, she said softly. That's human. Meanwhile, Alex continued his routine as if nothing had happened. He attended training, sparred during combat drills, and sat quietly in lectures. But wherever he went, the room fell silent. Even Koratek avoided him now, his pride shattered but replaced by a strange respect. One evening, as Alex walked through the academy courtyard under the artificial night sky, he heard footsteps behind him. Turning, he saw Dr. Varek standing there, holding a small datapad. "You've caused quite a storm," she said. Alex smiled faintly. "Wasn't my intention." "Intentions don't matter anymore," she replied. "You've changed how the galaxy views your species. The Council is watching now. Because I took a nap in a hot room?" Alex joked lightly, but her expression didn't change. "They think you're dangerous," she said. "They've never seen a being like you. Your body learns, your mind endures, and your emotions remain steady. To them, that's a threat." Alex frowned. "We're not a threat. We're just survivors. Survivors who can endure what others cannot," she said softly. "Do you understand what that means, Alex? If they fear what you are, they may try to control you, or destroy you." He looked up at the stars projected across the dome ceiling. "Let them try," he said quietly. "We've faced worse back home." Later that night, in the upper command deck, the Galactic Academy Council held a private meeting. Commander Vorik stood beside Dr. Varek, both summoned by High Marshal Reth. The holographic council members appeared as flickering figures around the table, each representing a different world. The Marshal spoke first. "We have reviewed the recordings of the human cadet's performance. His endurance and combat capabilities defy known biological limits. We need answers." Varek stepped forward. "The human's body exhibits a unique adaptive response to pain and stress. Instead of collapsing under pressure, he becomes stronger. It's not technology, it's evolution through hardship." One of the holographic members, a massive being of light, interrupted. "Then humanity itself is a weapon." Vorik frowned. "With respect, the human cadet is disciplined and harmless. But if his kind can all do this, they could rival entire armies." The Marshal nodded grimly. "Which is why the Council has ordered surveillance of Earth and its colonies. If they breed soldiers like this one, we must know." Dr. Varek looked disturbed. "Surveillance? That's an act of mistrust. Humanity has done nothing wrong." "Yet," the Marshal said. "But power always draws fear." The meeting ended with silence. Varek felt uneasy. She didn't believe humans were dangerous, at least not in the way the Council feared. But she also couldn't deny what she'd seen. When she left the chamber, Vorik walked beside her. "You believe the Council will act?" he asked. "They already have," she said. "And when fear guides them, nothing good follows." The next day, training resumed as normal, or so it seemed. But Alex began to notice the change. The instructors watched him more closely. His schedule shifted unexpectedly. New tests appeared, ones that measured reaction time, stamina, and psychological endurance. He knew what they were doing. They were trying to find his breaking point. During one of the new trials, Alex was placed inside a high-gravity simulation pod. The force pressed against his chest, making it hard to breathe. The lights dimmed, and a mechanical voice said, "Endurance threshold test, initiate." The pressure doubled, then tripled. His bones creaked, muscles screamed, lungs struggled for air. He closed his eyes, letting his mind drift. He imagined the sound of rain back on Earth, the smell of wet soil, the feeling of cold wind on his face. His heartbeat slowed. His body began to adapt. The machine's monitors flashed in confusion. "Subject stabilizing under lethal conditions," one technician gasped. "He's adapting again." Commander Vorik watched silently from behind the glass. For a moment, his pride as an instructor battled his growing dread. Finally, he turned away. "End the test," he ordered. When they opened the pod, Alex was breathing normally, his expression calm. "That was interesting," he said. "Do you guys ever make these things challenging?" Varek stared at him in disbelief. "Alex," she whispered, "you just survived a gravity field that crushed a war drone last week." He smiled slightly. "Guess I'm just built tough." That night, the academy was unusually quiet. The lights dimmed across the training decks as everyone rested. But in the upper command center, hidden transmissions moved between planets. The Galactic Council now had their eyes on Earth. And while they feared humanity's strength, they didn't realize something far more dangerous. The humans didn't seek power. They simply refused to break. And for a galaxy built on control and hierarchy, that made them truly terrifying. The next morning, the Galactic Academy was not the same. Every corridor hummed with tension, and every conversation dropped to whispers when Alex Ward passed by. The human cadet had become more than just a recruit. He was a mystery that none of the galaxy's finest minds could explain. To some, he was living proof that humanity was stronger than anyone imagined. To others, he was an unpredictable anomaly, something that shouldn't exist. Commander Vorik stood by the observation deck, watching the recruits run their morning drills. His claws tapped the railing as he thought. For years, the Academy had prided itself on understanding every species that joined the Galactic Defense Force. They had charts, data, and studies for each race, except humans. Humanity was new to the galactic stage, still considered primitive and impulsive. But now, after one cadet had shattered their most brutal endurance test and humiliated their strongest warrior, everything had changed. Vorik turned as the door opened behind him. Dr. Varek entered, her expression serious, carrying a datapad filled with fresh reports. "I've analyzed the results from the gravity simulation," she said. "It confirms what we suspected. His body doesn't resist pressure, it adapts to it." Vorik frowned. "You mean he evolves while the stress is happening?" "Exactly," she said. "The pain triggers something in his system. Instead of shutting down, his cells reorganize to survive it. It's like watching evolution occur in real time." Vorik's tail flicked nervously. "If that's true, then humans could be unstoppable given enough exposure to stress." "That's what terrifies the Council," Varek said quietly. "They've already started gathering intelligence on Earth. I received a classified update this morning. Human colonies are being monitored." Vorik looked away, uneasy. "Do they really think one human cadet justifies that?" "Fear doesn't need logic," she replied. Meanwhile, Alex was in the combat training hall, standing on the mat with a new group of recruits. Despite the attention, he trained as if nothing had changed. The others kept their distance, too intimidated to speak. The instructor, a mechanical being made of silver plates, called out commands. "Simulation Level 3. Begin." Holographic enemies materialized, drones programmed for advanced combat. Alex moved like water, dodging and striking with perfect timing. Each move seemed instinctive, almost too precise. The drones adapted their attack patterns, increasing speed, but Alex kept pace effortlessly. When the simulation ended, the machine voice announced, "Result, perfect score." The recruits watching from the sidelines were speechless. No one had ever achieved a perfect score. Alex wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked at the instructor. "Can we make it harder next time?" The machine hesitated, then simply replied, "Affirmative." Later, in the mess hall, he sat alone at his usual table. He didn't mind. He liked the quiet. But his solitude didn't last long. Dr. Varek approached, sitting across from him. "You don't seem to enjoy being the center of attention," she said. "Never liked crowds," Alex replied. "They make too much noise." "You're aware the Council is investigating your planet?" she asked. Alex looked up sharply. "Investigating Earth?" They're afraid, she admitted. You represent something they can't control. And fear turns allies into enemies very quickly. Alex leaned back. We're not trying to be special. We just survive the way we always have. Maybe they should stop being afraid and start asking why we're like this. And why is that? Varek asked, genuinely curious. He looked at her for a long moment before answering. Because pain made us what we are. Every war, every storm, every disaster, it forced us to adapt. On Earth, if you don't learn fast, you die. Varek listened silently. She realized that for humans, suffering wasn't just endurance, it was evolution through chaos. You really believe that pain is a teacher? She asked. The best one, he said softly. Before she could reply, a voice echoed through the hall's speakers. All cadets, report to the auditorium immediately. This is an emergency assembly. The lights dimmed. Everyone gathered in the main hall, the massive chamber where the Academy delivered major announcements. High Marshal Reth appeared as a towering hologram at the front, his metallic wings spread wide. Recruits, he began, an event has occurred on the outer colonies. During a recent mission, human miners survived exposure to radiation levels that should have killed them. The Galactic Council demands answers. The crowd murmured in shock. Effective immediately, the Marshal continued, human cadet Alex Ward will undergo a new test. The Omega Protocol. He will demonstrate his limits under full galactic supervision. Alex frowned. Around him, the recruits whispered. Omega Protocol? That's suicide. No one survives that. They want to break him. Commander Vorik looked furious but said nothing. He knew disobeying the Council's direct orders would mean exile, or worse. Later, he found Alex in the corridor, leaning against the wall calmly. You don't have to do this, Vorik said quietly. They're not testing you, they're hunting for your weakness. Alex smiled faintly. Then maybe it's time they see what weakness really looks like. You could die, Vorik warned. Everyone dies, Alex said. But not everyone proves why they lived. The next day, preparations began. The Omega Chamber was unlike anything else in the Academy, a colossal black sphere powered by ancient energy sources. It could simulate the pressure of a collapsing star, the heat of plasma, and the force of artificial gravity strong enough to crush steel. No being had ever volunteered to enter it. As Alex stood before it, the entire Academy gathered behind the safety glass. The Galactic Council watched live from across the galaxy. Dr. Varek stood at the controls, her hands trembling slightly. You don't have to do this, she said softly. Alex gave her a reassuring smile. Don't worry, document. I've had worse mornings. He stepped inside. The door sealed with a deafening clang. The chamber filled with light. The pressure rose instantly, the energy crackling through the air. The floor shook. Monitors flashed warnings. Level 1, sustained. Level 2, sustained. Level 3, stabilized. The scientists exchanged terrified looks. He wasn't just surviving, he was adapting again. The levels climbed past 10, then 12. Finally, alarms blared. Critical threshold reached, shouted a technician. He should be dead. But through the glowing haze, Alex stood tall, eyes closed, calm as ever. The Omega Chamber began to destabilize. Sparks flew from the consoles. Dr. Varek screamed, "Shut it down!" But before anyone could react, the entire system overloaded. The chamber doors burst open in a blast of steam and light. When the smoke cleared, Alex was standing unharmed, his uniform torn but his expression peaceful. He looked up at the control deck and said, "You should stop trying to break people. It never works." The crowd was silent. In that moment, every being in the Academy understood one thing. Humans were not just survivors. They were evolution in motion. And the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. The aftermath of the Omega Chamber test rippled through the galaxy like a shockwave. Every world, every species, Every military command center now whispered one name: Alex Ward, the human who conquered the unconquerable. The footage of him standing calmly inside the collapsing chamber spread across countless systems, igniting debates, fear, and admiration all at once. Some called him a symbol of hope. Others called him a threat. The Galactic Council, however, saw something else, a challenge to their control. On the orbiting Citadel station, the Council gathered in secret. 12 members representing the most powerful civilizations sat around a dark circular table. Their holographic faces flickered with tension. High Consul Threx spoke first, his voice cold and sharp. "We cannot allow this species to continue unchecked. If one human can endure the Omega Protocol, what happens when their armies arrive?" The Vraxian representative hissed. "They're still young in the stars. We can contain them before they spread." "Contain?" Threx snapped. "You saw what that cadet did. We built that chamber from neutron star alloy. It wasn't designed to test, it was designed to destroy." Silence followed. Finally, the elder of the Seraphim broke it. "Perhaps destruction isn't the answer. Fear makes enemies. Understanding could make allies." But the others dismissed her words. The decision was already made. The Council would act. Back at the Galactic Academy, Alex had no idea how many worlds were now watching him. He was still recovering, sitting quietly in the med bay while Dr. Varek checked his vitals. The machines beeped softly beside him. "You shouldn't even be alive," she said quietly, scanning the data. "Your body absorbed radiation levels that melt most species in seconds. Yet your cells are rebuilding stronger." "Guess I needed the workout," Alex replied with a faint grin. Varek sighed. "You joke about everything, don't you?" "Keeps me sane," he said. "And right now, that's all I've got." She looked at him, realizing how human that response truly was, simple, yet unbreakable. Before she could speak again, Commander Vorik entered. His expression was grim. "Cadet Ward," he said. "You've been summoned by the Council. They want to meet you in person." Alex's eyes narrowed. "They're scared." "Yes," Vorik said quietly. "And scared leaders are dangerous ones." Hours later, Alex stood aboard a transport ship heading to the Citadel station, accompanied by Vorik and Varek. The journey was silent, tension thick in the air. Outside the viewport, stars streaked by as the ship jumped through hyperspace. Alex stared out, deep in thought. "You think they'll try to execute me?" he asked suddenly. Varek hesitated. "They'll call it an evaluation, but yes, it's possible." "Then I'll just have to survive again," he said calmly. When they arrived, the Citadel was breathtaking, an enormous structure orbiting a dying star, its metallic rings glowing with energy. As they docked, dozens of armored guards escorted them to the central chamber. The Council waited inside, their gazes fixed on the human who had shaken their galaxy. Threx spoke first. "Cadet Alex Ward, humanity's representative. Do you understand what your actions have caused?" Alex met his gaze. "I survived your test. That's all I did." "You defied our limits," Threx barked. "You made our technology look weak. Now every race questions our authority." "Maybe they should," Alex said. "If your authority depends on fear, then it's not strength, it's control." The room went silent. Threx's claws dug into the table. "You speak like a soldier who doesn't know his place." "I know my place," Alex replied steadily. "It's wherever humanity decides to stand." The words hit like a thunderclap. Several council members exchanged nervous glances. Threx leaned forward. "Perhaps it's time to test your people's resolve. We will send a probe to your homeworld. If Earth refuses our regulation, we will classify it as a rogue species." "You'd attack an entire planet because one man didn't die?" Alex asked coldly. "Not attack," Threx said with a smirk. "Contain." Vorik took a step forward. "You can't do this." Humanity has done nothing wrong. Silence, Threx roared. You defend the very thing that threatens us all. But before he could continue, alarms blared. A voice echoed through the chamber. Emergency alert. Unknown vessels approaching Citadel perimeter. The council turned toward the holographic display. A fleet of dark, angular ships appeared out of hyperspace, unmarked, silent, and massive. The security systems scanned them, but no records existed. What are those? One of the members shouted. The answer came through the comm system in a deep, human voice. This is Commander Hayes of the Terran Defense Fleet. We're here for our cadet. The chamber froze. Alex's eyes widened slightly, then a slow smile formed on his face. You came, he whispered. The council erupted into panic. Impossible. Humanity doesn't possess interstellar drives. They do now, Vorik said with a grin. The Terran fleet positioned itself around the Citadel, locking targets but holding fire. The largest ship, a colossal black vessel marked TDF Resolute, broadcast a final message. Release our cadet, or we take him back by force. Threx slammed his claws on the console. You dare threaten the council? But the voice replied calmly. No. We remind you that humanity doesn't abandon its own. In that moment, every species in the galaxy witnessed something they never expected. Humans standing against the most powerful organization in existence. Alex turned toward the council. So do we keep talking, or are we done pretending? Threx's expression darkened. You've just declared war. Alex shook his head. No. You did, when you tried to cage us. Outside, the fleet's weapons charged, lighting up the void. The Citadel trembled as energy fields activated, preparing for battle. But before the first shot was fired, Dr. Varek stepped forward, her voice trembling. Stop this madness. If you fight, everyone dies. Don't you see? Humanity doesn't want war, they just want respect. Alex looked at her, then at the council. She's right, he said. But if you leave us no choice, we'll show you why your chambers, your weapons, and your power mean nothing. Threx sneered. You're bluffing. Alex stepped closer. Try me. The tension was unbearable. For a moment, no one breathed. Then the consul of the Seraphim raised her hand. Enough, she said softly. End this before the galaxy burns. Threx glared but didn't move. The human fleet waited silently outside, engines glowing. Finally, Threx hissed, Fine. Take your cadet. But remember, this isn't over. Alex smirked. It never is. As he walked out of the chamber, escorted by Vorik and Varek, he glanced one last time at the council. They had tried to break him, to understand him, but instead, they had awakened something far greater. Outside, as he stepped aboard the Resolute, the crew saluted him. Welcome home, sir, said Commander Hayes. Alex looked out the viewport at the Citadel shrinking in the distance and whispered, They thought pain was our weakness. They'll soon learn it's our strength. The stars shimmered around them as the human fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind a terrified galaxy and the beginning of a new legend. The Terran fleet's return to Earth was nothing short of legendary. Every ship in orbit saluted the Resolute as it descended through the atmosphere, flames trailing behind its black hull. The entire planet had been watching the broadcast from the Citadel. Humanity now knew what the rest of the galaxy thought of them. Dangerous, uncontrollable, and unpredictable. But instead of fear, Earth felt pride. The day Alex Ward came home became known as the return of the cadet. Crowds gathered at the Terran Defense Command Center as the Resolute landed on the runway. Soldiers, scientists, and civilians stood in silence as Alex stepped out, still in his torn Galactic Academy uniform. He looked exhausted, but his eyes burned with quiet determination. Commander Hayes approached him. You made quite the impression out there, son. Alex gave a faint smile. Guess they didn't like that I slept through their nightmare machine. Hayes chuckled. You didn't just survive, Ward. You showed them what humanity really is. Now every species out there will either want to ally with us, or destroy us. Alex's smile faded. Then we'd better be ready. Inside the command center, holographic screens displayed images of alien fleets moving across the stars. The Galactic Council hadn't wasted time. Threx had already begun rallying worlds under his control, preparing for what he called a containment initiative. The Council's message to the galaxy was simple: humanity is a threat to universal stability. But on Earth, no one flinched. The Terran Defense Force began fortifying its outposts, constructing new ships, and activating dormant projects. One such project lay deep beneath Antarctica, Project Aegis. Massive hangars filled with prototypes that had been considered too experimental for deployment now came online. Gigantic mechs, energy shields, and adaptive armor systems designed for interstellar warfare began awakening. Dr. Lin, the head of Aegis, briefed Alex personally. "We've studied alien tech for years, reverse-engineered what little we could. But after seeing what you did, Command decided it's time to push human limits even further." Alex followed her into the chamber, where an enormous metallic sphere hovered above a glowing platform. "This is the Aegis core," she explained. "It's powered by a synthetic singularity. We built it to test how much pressure and energy a human pilot could handle. Until now, no one survived a single synchronization attempt." Alex stared at the swirling core of light and energy. "Let me guess, you want me to try it?" Dr. Lin nodded slowly. "You're the only one who can." Hours later, Alex stood inside the synchronization chamber. The Aegis core pulsed above him, emitting a low hum that vibrated through the walls. Technicians watched nervously from behind reinforced glass. Commander Hayes gave the order. "Begin sequence." Energy surged through the cables, flooding into the chamber. Alex gritted his teeth as waves of heat and gravity crushed against his body. His heartbeat spiked, his vision blurred, but his mind didn't break. He remembered the pain chamber, the Omega Protocol, and every challenge he had already overcome. He embraced the pain, let it flow through him. Then, suddenly, everything went silent. The lights dimmed, then stabilized. The readings on the monitors shot off the charts. Dr. Lin gasped. "He's synchronizing. He's actually doing it." The metallic sphere unfolded into thousands of shifting plates, wrapping around Alex's body, merging with him in a storm of light. When the glow faded, he stood at the center, encased in the newly activated Aegis combat suit, a fusion of human resilience and alien power. Hayes stared in awe. "My God, he's become the weapon." Alex's voice echoed through the comms, calm and steady. "Not a weapon," he said. "A shield." Days later, the first wave of alien fleets arrived in the outer solar system. Massive dreadnoughts bearing the insignia of the Galactic Council filled the void near Neptune. Commander Vorik, now branded a traitor by the Council for helping Alex, contacted Earth secretly from a hidden relay. His hologram flickered in the command center. "They're calling it a containment protocol, but it's an invasion. Threx has mobilized over 30 fleets." Hayes folded his arms. "Then they're about to find out what happens when you corner a human." On the battlefield, the human defense network came alive. Orbital cannons aligned, stealth drones deployed, and the Resolute took point as the flagship. But the true ace was Alex. When he stepped into the void wearing the Aegis suit, every sensor across the fleet detected a new kind of energy signature. Something not entirely human, not entirely mechanical. He launched forward faster than light, tearing through enemy interceptors with blinding speed. Alien pilots screamed over comms as their ships disintegrated. "What is that thing?" one of them cried. "It's not possible." Alex's voice came through the open channel, calm and chilling. "You wanted to contain humanity. Here we are." His movements were flawless, almost fluid. Every time he took a hit, the Aegis armor adapted, reshaping its molecular structure. The more he fought, the stronger it became. Entire squadrons fell before him like dust in a storm. Meanwhile, The Council's command ship struggled to comprehend what they were witnessing. "He's rewriting our targeting systems," shouted one technician. Threx slammed his claws against the console. "How can one being do this?" "Because he's not fighting alone," Vorak's voice came through the intercepted signal. "He's fighting with every human behind him." On Earth, billions watched the live feed of Alex in battle. Children cheered, soldiers saluted, and the world that was once seen as weak now stood united. For the first time in galactic history, humanity was not surviving, they were dominating. Hours later, the first wave of the Council fleet retreated, their formations shattered. The humans had lost ships, yes, but their spirit was unbroken. Inside the Aegis suit, Alex hovered in the silence of space, breathing heavily. "Status report," he said. "Minimal damage," replied Dr. Lin from command. "But the second wave is forming. They're regrouping." "Let them," Alex replied. "We're ready this time." Back on the Citadel, Threx faced the Council in fury. "You see what they've unleashed? That creature, he's unstoppable." The Seraphim Elder spoke again, her voice calm but firm. "Perhaps unstoppable is the wrong word. Perhaps he's the future." Threx glared. "If they are the future, then we are doomed." The Elder looked away. "No. Perhaps now, we finally have something worth following." The session ended in chaos, but one thing was certain: the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted forever. And in the depths of space, surrounded by the wreckage of alien ships, Alex Ward looked toward the distant stars and whispered, "They built their chambers to break us. But all they did was teach us how to rise." The war that began at the edge of the solar system soon spread like wildfire across the stars. Every species that once ignored humanity now watched in disbelief as the Terran Defense Fleet pushed back the Galactic Council's armadas. No one had expected humans to rise this fast. In less than a decade since first contact, they had gone from a primitive world to a galactic power, driven not by conquest but by survival. And at the heart of it all stood one man, the human cadet who refused to break, Alex Ward. The Aegis suit had made him a legend. With each battle, it adapted, evolving beyond even Earth's understanding. The fusion of human resilience and alien technology had become something alive, something that responded to Alex's will. Some called it a miracle. Others whispered that it was dangerous. But to Alex, it was just another tool to protect his people. As the days turned into weeks, the Council's forces regrouped. High Consul Threx, humiliated and desperate, summoned every remaining fleet under his command. His ship, the Obsidian Dominion, became the war's command center. Inside, his eyes burned with hatred as he stared at the hologram of Earth. "They've turned the galaxy into chaos," he snarled. "That human, Ward, he's the root of it. I want his body on display for every system to see." His second-in-command hesitated. "Consul, our losses are already beyond calculation. The humans have technology we can't explain. Their Aegis project, enough." Threx slammed his claws on the table. "Then we'll crush their world itself. No technology can protect them from annihilation." He raised a hand, and a fleet of planet-buster dreadnoughts appeared on the screen. "We end this now." Back on Earth, the defense network detected the movement instantly. Dozens of massive enemy fleets were converging on the solar system again, far larger than before. In the command center, alarms blared, and holographic screens filled with red. Commander Hayes stood beside Alex, his jaw tight. "They're coming with everything they've got." Alex stared at the map, his voice calm. "Good. Then we finish this." Dr. Lin approached, holding a datapad. "We've been analyzing your Aegis readings," she said. "It's evolving faster than any of us predicted. The system isn't just adapting, it's rewriting its own limits. If you push it too far, it could merge with your body permanently." Alex didn't even flinch. "If that's what it takes to end this, I'll take the risk." Hayes frowned. "Son, you're not just fighting for Earth anymore. You're fighting for every world that fears the Council. Don't throw yourself away." Alex looked at him and said quietly, "I'm not planning to die, Commander. I'm planning to make sure no one else has to." Within hours, the human fleet mobilized. Every ship, every pilot, every defense satellite was ready. From the moon bases to the Martian colonies, humanity stood united. The Terran armada spread across the dark void, forming a wall of steel and light between Earth and the oncoming storm. When the Council fleet arrived, the stars vanished under the shadows of their dreadnoughts. It was the largest force ever assembled in galactic history. And in the silence before battle, a single transmission cut through the void. Alex's voice. "To all Council ships, this is Cadet Alex Ward of Earth. You came here to destroy us. But you've already lost. Because you don't understand one thing: humans don't break. We adapt. We endure. And when you push us too far, we become something you can't control." The response was a storm of weapon fire. The war for Earth had begun. Space erupted with blinding light as rail cannons, plasma beams, and energy bursts collided. Thousands of ships clashed in chaos, their explosions painting the void with color. Alex launched from the Resolute, his Aegis suit glowing like a miniature star. Every enemy fighter that approached him disintegrated in seconds. The armor moved faster than light, bending space around him. But even as he fought, he knew this wasn't enough. The Council's dreadnoughts were designed to destroy planets. Their combined firepower could reduce Earth to ashes within minutes. On the Obsidian Dominion, Threx watched the battle unfold with a twisted smile. "They can't stop us. Prepare the Planet Buster Cannon." A massive weapon began to charge, its energy levels spiking beyond safety limits. On Earth, alarms screamed. "They're targeting the planet," shouted a technician. "Time to impact, 3 minutes." Dr. Lin turned to Alex over the comm. "If that cannon fires, we're finished." Alex's voice came back steady. "Then I'll stop it." "You can't," Lin cried. "It's suicide." But Alex was already gone, accelerating toward the massive flagship. His body blurred into a streak of white light as he tore through waves of fighters and turrets. The Aegis armor began glowing brighter, responding to his determination. "Aegis," he said. "Full power." The system's voice responded in a calm tone. "Warning: exceeding maximum synchronization may cause irreversible effects." "Do it," Alex ordered. The armor obeyed. The energy inside him exploded outward, fusing light and gravity into a single force. His voice echoed across every comm channel. "You wanted to see what humans are capable of? Watch." He struck the flagship with all his power. The explosion was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Light engulfed the darkness, tearing through the dreadnought's hull and disabling the entire fleet's energy grid. The Planet Buster cannon's charge collapsed, imploding in a massive surge that sent shockwaves across space. On Earth, the sky lit up as if a new sun had been born. When the light finally faded, silence returned. Every remaining Council ship drifted powerless. The Obsidian Dominion was gone, obliterated in the blast. But so was Alex. His signal had vanished. Commander Hayes stood in the command center, his face pale. "We lost him," he said quietly. Dr. Lin shook her head, tears in her eyes. "No. He's out there. I know it." 4 days, humanity searched. The Council's fleets had retreated, broken and leaderless. The war was over. Earth had survived. But there was no sign of Alex. Then, one night, a signal flickered through the void, weak, distorted, but unmistakable. "This is Cadet Alex Ward. Mission complete. Aegis operational. Humanity endures." And then silence again. Across the galaxy, that message echoed. To the Council's surviving members, it was a warning. To Earth, it was a promise. Humanity had proven they could not be broken. They had risen from fear, pain, and darkness to stand unshaken before the stars. And somewhere out there, drifting between the remains of the shattered fleet, a faint blue light glowed, the Aegis core still alive, waiting. The legend of the human who slept through pain but woke the galaxy from its arrogance was far from over. Because as long as humanity endured, Alex Ward's story would never end.